The next scenario we want to look at is X509 client certificate. This is often used in high security scenarios, whatever that means. But the fact is that X509 client certificates often give you like two-factor authentication. You need to have the certificate, and typically you also need to know a PIN that protects the certificate, typically combined with hardware devices like USB tokens and smart cards. And in addition, you can layer client certificates on top of other arbitrary authentication methods, and I'll show you later how that would look like, for example, combined with basic authentication. The first thing we need to do to enable client certificates, well, first of all, we need to have a client certificate, and in the demo I will show you how to create client certificates, very, very similar to how we created our server certificates. And then it depends a little bit on your hosting environment. In IIS, you can see there's basically a config flag in the IIS config where you basically say like SSL require certificate, and then IIS makes sure that no request without a client certificate comes into your application. If you're running in different hosts, then this works differently. Again, I will show you how to do that for HTTP SYS based hosts, which you know are right now all hosts from Microsoft are based on HTTP SYS, and I will show you the command line tools to make that work with OwenHost. How do you access a client certificate? Well, there's a property on the request context in Web API. That's how you can get access to a client certificate if present. And the code snippet here that you can see shows you basically from how you would do it from inside a controller. So if that's all you need, you want to check for a cert, and if it's present, you want to inspect it. Remember, you need to validate the certificate as well. But yeah, that's how you can access it from the controller. What I will show you is more like an approach where you put the certificate checks into middleware, so you get it out of your business logic or facade logic and kind of make it, you know, just like the authentication middleware in Katana, we now check also for client certificates. One thing is really important. The validation applied to client certificates is host specific. So for example, in IIS, IIS is very strict when it comes to client certificates. So when you are inside of IIS and you get access to a certificate, you can be sure that IIS already did a chain trust validation, meaning makes sure that your the issuer of the client cert is trusted, and it makes sure that this issuer also is allowed to issue certs for the purpose of client authentication. Okay, if you're in other hosts, for example in HTTP SYS, HTTP SYS will happily pass you any client certificate, and you need to make the validation yourself. And if you are in other hosts, like, you know, unknown hosts, then the behavior is unknown. It depends on the hosts how to do the pre-validation. Once the cert, or in other words, once the cert arrives in your code, you have to validate again, just to make sure that, you know, the host did the right thing in according to your security policy. And if, I mean, you can go back to module 1, you'll see from scratch how to validate certificates. And again, I will show you in the demo how to do that as part of Katana middleware.